I've always believed that money shows who people really are, not because it changes them, but because it gives them permission to act the way they always wanted to. When my son called me that Thursday morning, I was sitting by the window with my old coffee mug, the one with the faded handle and a crack that's been there for 10 years. The same mug I've used since the days when I worked 2 jobs and dreamed of a life that didn't depend on coupons or late fees. "Mom," he said, his voice half whisper, half worry, "I need you to meet them this weekend. Please, try to make a good impression." I smiled into the phone. I'd heard that tone before. The tone of a child who's grown up and suddenly feels ashamed of where he came from. "Of course, honey," I said. "Who are they exactly?" He hesitated. "Simone's parents. They're flying in from Boston. We're having dinner at Le Pristine, downtown. It's a kind of fancy." I could almost hear him holding his breath, waiting for me to react. Le Pristine, the place where you need to book a table 2 months in advance just to sit near the bar. "Oh," I said, calmly, "I'll be there." He exhaled like a man escaping a trap. "Thank you, Mom. Just maybe don't wear, the brown sweater." I laughed softly. "The one with the hole near the sleeve? Don't worry. I'll think of something better." But after I hung up, I sat there for a while staring at that cracked mug. My son's voice replayed in my head. Make a good impression. I knew exactly what he meant. He was nervous I'd look poor. The truth was, I wasn't poor. Not anymore. 10 years earlier, I'd started a small business from my kitchen table, making handmade candles and selling them online. At first, it was just a side thing, something to pay the bills. But I learned fast. I learned marketing, branding, customer service, and before long, what started with 10 candles a week turned into a company that ships thousands every month. Quietly, carefully, I'd built a life most people wouldn't believe. A house paid in full, investments that brought me peace of mind, a steady income that could have made anyone proud. But I never told my son. To him, I was still Mom who clips coupons, the woman who wore the same shoes every winter. I didn't want him to treat me differently. I wanted him to grow up humble, not greedy. So I let him believe I was still scraping by. Now, it seemed that little act of humility had become a kind of mask I couldn't take off. Saturday came faster than I expected. I took out a plain gray dress, simple, clean, nothing flashy, and tied my hair back into a bun. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw a woman who could pass for a retired secretary. Perfect. I wasn't planning to show off. I was planning to observe, to see who Simone's family really was, not the polished version my son described, but the real one underneath. The taxi dropped me off outside Le Pristine just before sunset. The glass windows reflected gold light, and the valet smiled like he could tell who belonged there and who didn't. I walked in quietly, feeling that familiar wave of judgment the moment you step into a place where everything costs more than it should. The host greeted me with a professional smile that faltered when I gave my name. "Reservation for Daniel Moore?" I said. He blinked, glanced down the list, then nodded. "Right this way." Inside, the restaurant looked like a movie set. Tables lined with white linen, glasses so thin they could shatter from a whisper. The smell of butter and wine filled the air. At the back corner, I saw them, my son, Daniel, his fiancée, Simone, and two people who looked like they'd been born in a catalog. Simone's parents. Her mother wore a pearl necklace that probably cost more than my car. Her father had the relaxed posture of a man who'd never worried about bills. Daniel waved me over, smiling a little too hard. "Daniel, you made it." I hugged him, kissed his cheek, and then turned to Simone's parents. "It's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much." Her mother's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Likewise, dear. We've heard so much too." I could tell what she meant. She'd heard enough to judge. Her father extended a hand, firm and polite. "Mark Bennett, and this is my wife, Veronica." "Pleasure," I replied. We all sat. The waiter appeared instantly, as if rich people had a secret button that summoned service. As we ordered, the conversation began its little dance. Polite, careful questions. Where do you live? What do you do? When they asked about me, I smiled. "I work in an office," I said softly. "Just clerical stuff. Keeps me busy." Veronica tilted her head. "Oh, that's nice. Must be tough keeping up these days." I nodded. "It can be." Her smile grew, not warmer, but sharper. "Well, Daniel tells us you're very grounded." I could hear the pause between the words. Grounded. Code for not like us. Daniel shifted in his seat. "Mom's always been independent," he said quickly. "She raised me by herself. She's the strongest person I know." That softened Simone a little, but not her mother. Dinner arrived, all arranged like art projects on big white plates. The prices on the menu had me blink earlier, but I didn't flinch. I'd spent that much on a single charity lunch before. Still, I let them assume it was a stretch for me. It was fascinating, really, how people reveal themselves when they think they're above you. Veronica talked for half an hour straight about her home renovation, her new SUV, her Pilates instructor. Every sentence was a little performance. I nodded politely, said, "That's lovely," whenever she paused to breathe. Then she leaned in with that smile again. "You know, Daniel has been such a blessing to Simone. He's really lifted her standards." I smiled. "He's a good boy." Yes, she said, waving her hand. "We just want to make sure he stays comfortable. Marriage can be expensive, especially when one side isn't, used to a certain lifestyle." The words hung there, soft but heavy. I let a second pass before replying. "That's thoughtful of you," I said gently. "I'm sure you'll guide them well." Veronica seemed pleased with herself. People like that often are when they think they're above you. When the check arrived, Mark reached for it with an exaggerated flourish. "Please let me," he said. "We wouldn't want you worrying about that." I smiled faintly. "Thank you. That's very kind." Veronica added, "Yes, we know how these places can be a bit much." That was it. The tiny flicker of condescension that lit something inside me. Not anger, exactly. More like a spark of clarity. They weren't just proud. They were careless. Careless with kindness. Careless with words. Careless with people. And suddenly, I wanted to see how far they'd go. So I leaned forward, resting my hands on the table, and said softly, I really appreciate your generosity. It's not easy living on a small income. Some months are tighter than others." Veronica's eyes gleamed. Oh, of course, dear. I understand. If you ever need a little help, you only have to ask. There it was. The trap I'd been waiting for. I tilted my head. That's sweet. But tell me, Veronica, what kind of help did you have in mind? She smiled like a queen blessing a servant. Well, we could always, send a little something each month, just to make things easier. Maybe $700 or $800, enough to keep you comfortable. No shame in accepting help. Daniel froze. Simone stared at her mother, mortified. I kept my voice calm, almost amused. So you own it? Veronica repeated, her eyebrows arching like she'd misheard. I nodded, keeping my voice even. Yes, it started small, just me and a table full of candles I made in my kitchen. I was a single mom then, working nights, saving every dime. But one day I decided to stop waiting for luck and start building something. No one spoke. Even the waiter, who had been about to refill the water glasses, froze for a second before quietly slipping away. I taught myself how to sell online, then I hired 2 people, then 10. Now I run a company that ships across the country. We sell about 20,000 candles a month. We do partnerships with hotels, boutiques, and even a few big-name stores you might have heard of. I smiled lightly. So yes, I suppose you could say I have an office. A few of them, actually. Veronica's mouth opened, but no words came out. Simone looked like she just watched the ground vanish beneath her. My son stared at me, half shocked, half hurt. Mom, he whispered, you never told me. I wanted you to stand on your own. I didn't want money to change how you saw things. You always said you wanted to build a life on hard work, and I wanted that for you. Veronica's husband, Mark, cleared his throat. That's quite something, he said. Congratulations. His tone was polite, but his eyes darted to his wife as if warning her not to say another foolish word. Veronica forced a smile. Well, that's wonderful, dear. I'm happy for you. But her voice cracked on happy, and the air between us was thick enough to touch. I decided to ease the tension, but not too much. I didn't bring it up to brag. I just think sometimes people assume too much from what they see. I've spent most of my life blending in, and it's funny how invisible you can become when people think you're beneath them. Simone swallowed hard. Mrs. Moore, I'm so sorry. My mom didn't mean... Veronica cut her off. Of course I didn't. I was only offering help. I smiled again. And I truly appreciate the thought. You just didn't know who you were offering it to. The waiter returned with dessert menus, his eyes flicking nervously between us. Veronica declined. She could barely lift her gaze from the table. I ordered coffee, mostly to give everyone a chance to breathe. As the cups arrived, Daniel finally spoke. So, all this time you had your own business? You never said a word. I shrugged. There never seemed to be a reason. You had your own life, your own dreams. And besides, I liked keeping it simple. He shook his head, a mix of admiration and guilt clouding his face. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you weren't enough. Oh, sweetheart, I said, reaching for his hand. You've never made me feel that way. Other people's words don't have to stick unless we let them. Simone gave a weak smile. You really built all that on your own? With a lot of mistakes and a lot of nights crying over invoices I didn't understand. But yes, I built it. Veronica sipped her water as though trying to wash the embarrassment down her throat. Then she asked, too lightly, so if you're doing so well, why keep it quiet? Why not, enjoy it? I looked at her. Because real wealth isn't about showing off. It's about freedom.
freedom to help without being asked, freedom to choose peace over status. Her expression softened for the first time that evening. Maybe it was the sincerity in my voice, or maybe she was seeing, just for a moment, how small her own pride looked next to quiet confidence. Still, she couldn't help herself. I guess it must be nice, making that kind of money. It's not about the number. It's about purpose. I earn enough to live comfortably and to make a difference. I support a few local shelters and fund scholarships for single moms. That's what makes it worth it. Daniel blinked. You do all that? I nodded. But none of it matters if I raise a son who forgets what decency looks like. That's why I stayed quiet. I wanted you to stand grounded. He squeezed my hand. I get it now. For a long minute, nobody spoke. The restaurant noise seemed to fade until all I could hear was the soft hum of music and the faint clatter of dishes. I could feel eyes on us, other diners sensing the drama unfolding, though they pretended not to notice. Veronica finally broke the silence. Well, I suppose I owe you an apology. I tilted my head. Suppose? She took a breath. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound condescending. I smiled gently. You didn't sound condescending. You were condescending. But that's okay. We all have blind spots. That stung, but it also made her laugh nervously, and the tension cracked just enough to let some air in. When the waiter brought the check, Mark reached for it again. I placed my hand on top of his. Please, I said. Let me. He frowned. That's not necessary. Oh, I insist. I took the small leather folder and slipped my black card inside. His eyes widened slightly. I caught the flicker of recognition. He knew exactly what that card meant. No limit. Exclusive. The kind of thing people in his circle noticed. Veronica's mouth fell open, and Simone looked like she might burst into tears of relief or shame. I couldn't tell which. A few minutes later, the waiter returned politely smiling. Everything's been taken care of, ma'am. Thank you. I nodded. Could you please add a 25% tip for your kindness tonight? He blinked, clearly surprised. Of course, ma'am. Thank you very much. When he walked away, Veronica whispered, That's generous. Kindness works both ways. I believe in returning it, even when it's late. We stood to leave, and for a moment, I thought that would be the end of it. But the night wasn't done teaching us lessons yet. As we reached the door, Mark realized he'd left his phone at the table. He hurried back while we waited near the entrance. The lobby was elegant. Soft lighting, art on the walls, a quiet piano playing in the background. I could feel Veronica standing next to me, her hands clenching her clutch purse. Finally, she spoke. You must think I'm awful. I looked at her. No, I think you're human. We all make assumptions. I just happen to enjoy proving them wrong. She let out a shaky laugh. You really do have a way with words. I've had to. When people stop listening, you learn to speak differently. Just then, Mark returned looking pale. He turned to his wife. They wouldn't take my card, he said quietly. I think something's wrong with the limit. Veronica blinked. What? He lowered his voice. It declined. I'll fix it later. I tried not to smile. The universe really did have a sense of timing. Everything all right? I asked. Yes, he said quickly. Just a minor issue. I nodded. Happens to the best of us. We stepped outside into the cool night air. The city lights painted gold across the street, and for a long moment we stood there in silence. Then Veronica turned to me. You must think I'm awful. I looked at her. No, I think you're human. We all make assumptions. I just happen to enjoy proving them wrong. She let out a shaky laugh. You really do have a way with words. I've had to. When people stop listening, you learn to speak differently. Daniel offered to drive me home, but I waved him off. Go with Simone. She looks like she needs a hug more than I do. He hesitated. Are you sure? I'll be fine. I'll take a cab. I've been doing that before you were tall enough to reach the front seat. He laughed softly and kissed my forehead. You're amazing, Mom. Just honest. Now go. The taxi ride home felt quieter than usual. City lights flickered across the windows like passing memories. I leaned back, thinking about the look on Veronica's face when I told her the truth. It wasn't anger that stayed with me. It was the small, frightened realization in her eyes, the kind that comes when someone sees their reflection clearly for the first time. Money can build walls, but it can also tear them down if you use it right. And sometimes humility is just another kind of power, the kind that lets you walk away without bitterness. When I reached home, I took off my shoes, set down my purse, and looked around my living room. It wasn't fancy, but it was filled with warmth. Photos of Daniel through the years, candles from my own line flickering gently on the table, the quiet hum of a home built on persistence, not pride. I poured myself another cup of coffee, the same cracked mug from before, and whispered, "Well done."
The next morning, sunlight slipped through my curtains like forgiveness. I woke up before the alarm, still replaying last night in my mind. I didn't regret what I said, not one word, but I hoped it hadn't left Daniel embarrassed. A mother's pride and a son's love are delicate things. You can bruise them without meaning to. I made breakfast the same way I always did. Scrambled eggs, toast, and coffee in my cracked mug. Habit has a way of grounding you, reminding you who you are no matter what the world thinks. I had just sat down when my phone buzzed. Simone. Hi, Mrs. Moore. May I come by later? I'd really like to talk. I typed back a short reply. Of course, dear. I'll be home all afternoon. By the time she arrived, I'd cleaned the kitchen twice. Old habit again, something to do with my hands when my heart was too full. When I opened the door, Simone looked nervous, like she'd been holding her breath for hours. She was dressed casual this time. No fancy jacket, no designer bag, just jeans and a sweater. She looked more like a daughter than a stranger. Hi, she said softly. Come in, sweetheart, I said. Coffee? She nodded. Please. We sat at the small kitchen table, steam rising between us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize for my mom. What she said last night was awful. I tried to stop her, but I raised a hand gently. You don't have to apologize for her. We all come from somewhere that shapes us. Tears filled her eyes. She's not a bad person. She just grew up believing money meant safety. I guess she forgets that people can have value without a price tag. I smiled. That's something most of us forget sometimes. She wiped her eyes. I was so proud of how you handled her. You didn't yell, you didn't insult her, you just told the truth. I'll never forget that. I chuckled softly. Yelling never changes hearts. Sometimes silence does more. Simone reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. She said, I know this might seem strange, but I wanted to show you something. She slid it across the table. Inside was a handwritten letter, folded neatly, and a check. I glanced at the amount. $200. She said, It's not what you think. It's symbolic. My mom asked me to give it to a charity in your name. She wanted to make amends somehow. I looked up at her. That's very kind of her. She also wanted me to tell you she couldn't sleep last night. She said your words kept echoing in her head. Kindness wrapped in pity. She said it hurt because it was true. I nodded slowly. Truth usually does. Simone smiled through her tears. She wants to invite you for lunch next weekend at our house. Not fancy, just family. I thought about it for a moment. My first instinct was to decline. I'd had enough of fancy meals and judgment for one lifetime. But then I saw the hope in Simone's eyes, the same hope Daniel used to have when he was a little boy and wanted everyone to get along. All right, I said. Lunch sounds nice. Simone exhaled in relief. Thank you. You have no idea how much that means. I laughed softly. Oh, I think I do. The week passed quickly. Between orders, meetings, and calls from suppliers, I found myself thinking about that upcoming lunch more than I expected. What would I wear? What would I say? For once, I decided not to plan too much. Honesty had gotten me this far, it could take me the rest of the way. Sunday afternoon arrived bright and calm. I wore a light blue dress and brought a small box of my best candles as a gift. When I reached the Bennett's house, the door opened before I even knocked. Veronica stood there, looking different, softer somehow. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, no jewelry except her wedding ring. Her smile was nervous but real. Please come in, she said. Thank you, I replied. It's a lovely home. Thank you, she said again, quieter. And thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure either, and we both laughed a little. The house smelled like roasted chicken and fresh herbs. Simone was in the kitchen, Daniel by her side, both of them grinning like children trying to keep a secret. As we sat down, the mood was lighter than I had expected. Mark cracked a few jokes, Daniel shared an embarrassing story from his childhood, and soon the table was filled with laughter that didn't feel forced. Halfway through the meal, Veronica set down her fork. Her hands trembled slightly. She said, I want to say something. Last week, I acted like someone I don't want to be. I was proud, judgmental, and thoughtless. You didn't deserve that. I looked at her and saw sincerity, not the rehearsed kind people used to fix appearances, but the kind that cost something. I accept your apology, I said simply. She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. Thank you. I hope we can start fresh. I smiled. We already have. After lunch, we moved to the patio. The sun was soft. The air smelled of grass and lemon trees. Veronica brought out iced tea, and for the first time we talked woman to woman, not sparring partners. She told me about growing up in a family where image was everything, about the pressure to marry well, live big, keep up appearances. I told her about my early years, working late nights, hiding tears from Daniel, dreaming of better days. I used to think success meant never worrying again, but now I see it's about peace. I nodded. Peace is the most expensive thing in the world. Money can't buy it, but it can buy you the time to find it. She laughed softly. You should write a book. I said, maybe someday. Later, when we were saying goodbye, Veronica hugged me. It was the kind of hug that says, I see you now. I hugged her back, truly meaning it. On my way home, Daniel and Simone walked me to the car. Simone leaned in and whispered, She really likes you now. I smiled. Let's hope it sticks. It will, Daniel said. You changed her. I looked at him. Maybe she just remembered who she wanted to be. That night, back in my living room, I lit one of my own candles. The flame flickered quietly, filling the room with the soft scent of vanilla and peace. I sat by the window, the same place I'd been a week ago, holding my cracked mug filled with tea this time instead of coffee.
The city outside hummed its usual song. Cars passing, dogs barking, life continuing as it always does. But something in me felt lighter. I thought about the dinner, the pride, the reveal, and the forgiveness that followed. Life has a way of circling back, giving us chances to choose kindness again and again until we finally get it right. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Daniel's contact. I sent him a short message. Proud of you. Be good to her. Love you always, Mom. A few seconds later, the typing dots appeared. Love you too, Mom. Thank you for everything. I smiled and set the phone down. For the first time in a long while, I felt completely at peace with myself, with my family, with the world that keeps testing us in strange ways. Sometimes pretending to be less isn't about shame. It's about understanding who's willing to see your worth without a price tag attached. And sometimes revealing the truth isn't revenge. It's a lesson wrapped in grace. That night, as the candle burned low and the room glowed gold, I whispered a little prayer, not for wealth, not for success, but for softness. The kind of softness that bends but never breaks. Because in the end, all we really want is to be seen, respected, and loved for who we are beneath the surface. And when that happens, even once, it's worth more than all the money in the world.